A man sits alone in dim light. His breathing slows, his jaw unclenches. The room holds no sound but his own pulse. He has chosen restraint over release, and in that choice, something inside him sharpens. Gurdjieff taught that most men sleepwalk through life. They surrender to every impulse that arrives. They mistake reaction for freedom, discharge for strength. But the man who masters his own energy, he becomes the architect of his attention. You live in a world that sells you release. Every screen promises friction without consequence. Every swipe offers the illusion of conquest. But each click drains the voltage you need for creation. The attention economy runs on your distraction. Sexual energy is not just biology. It is the forge where willpower is tempered. When you refuse the easy path to satisfaction, you redirect that current towards something larger. The ancient systems understood this as transmutation. The man who spills his energy carelessly loses leverage. He wakes tired, his vision blurred by yesterday's choice. His work suffers. His presence dims in conversation. Women sense this depletion before he speaks. Masculine sovereignty begins with what you withhold. Gurdjieff called it conscious suffering, not deprivation, but the deliberate tension of opposing forces. You feel the pull, you acknowledge the hunger, and then you choose the longer gain. That friction generates a different kind of heat. Modern dating reveals this principle in real time. The man who texts back instantly loses the frame. The man who chases every opportunity signals scarcity. Response windows are not games. They are the rhythm of a man who owns his calendar. You are not withholding to manipulate. You are considering building something that requires depth. Every great work demands undivided focus. Every meaningful relationship rewards the man who arrives complete. The mirror does not lie about what you've spent. Jung spoke of the anima, the inner feminine. When a man cannot sit with his own longing, he projects it outward, seeking completion in another. But the woman who might walk beside him, she does not want to be his medicine. Sexual restraint forces you to face your shadow. The parts of yourself you numb with quick pleasure, the boredom, the restlessness, the ache for meaning. Orgasm is an exit door from that confrontation. The man who stays in the room learns who he is. This is not about purity or moral superiority. It is about leverage in the architecture of your days. You wake with clarity instead of fog. Your eye contact holds steady in rooms that matter. The throne is not inherited. It is claimed through discipline. Gurdjieff warned against mechanicalness in all forms. The body runs its routines while the mind drifts elsewhere. You scroll, you climax, you forget what you intended. The hours vanish into habitual discharge. But the man who interrupts the loop, he wakes up. Women test boundaries because they need to know. Can this man hold a frame when pressure arrives? Does he bend at the first surge of desire? Or does he possess the inner gravity to say no? Even to himself, especially to himself. You are not proving anything to her in that moment. You are proving it to the part of you that watches. The part that knows whether you keep your word. Dating dynamics are downstream from self-command. Selection happens long before the conversation starts. The storm will come. The impulse will rise. Your body will argue for immediate release. And in that moment, you will choose. Not once, but again and again. The forge does not cool after a single session. Nietzsche understood that greatness requires sublimation, the drives that most men scatter. The disciplined few compress into creative force. Art, philosophy, and leadership all require this voltage. You cannot build monuments with energy you've already spent. This is the quiet war no one applauds. No trophy arrives for the night you said no. No external validation marks your restraint, but the man in the mirror changes. His gaze sharpens, his words carry weight. Modern culture mocks this idea as outdated. It insists that every appetite deserves instant satisfaction. But look at the men who built what endures. They understood delayed gratification as the hinge of power. The attention economy collapses without your participation. You are not avoiding pleasure. You are choosing which battles deserve your whole arsenal. The minor skirmishes drain you for the war that matters, and life's bigger battles require a man who arrives intact. Masculine sovereignty is not loud. It is simply present. Gurdjieff taught in parables, not prescriptions. He showed his students the machine they had become, how they moved through days on autopilot, how their energy leaked through 1,000 small holes. Sexual restraint was one of many seals. When you withhold, you create internal pressure. That pressure can collapse into frustration, or it can crystallize into something more challenging, something useful. The difference lies in where you direct your attention. Do you feed the hunger, or do you build the temple? Women sense this in ways they rarely articulate. The man who needs nothing from her arrives differently. His presence does not demand, it offers. She can relax into her own feminine uncertainty because his frame does not shift with her tests. This is not a strategy in the manipulative sense. It is the alignment between your interior discipline and exterior presence. The world rewards congruence, punishes pretense. You cannot fake the energy of a man who governs himself. The mirror shows what you have chosen. Every single day, Jung called individuation the lifelong task. You separate the inherited scripts from your valid will. You stop performing for the crowd inside your head. Sexual restraint becomes one thread in that larger weaving, a daily practice of conscious choice over mechanical reaction. The throne is not a chair you sit in once. It is the posture you maintain when no one watches, when the room is dark and the impulse whispers, when the screen glows, the shortcut appears. The man who says no in that moment claims inches of ground. Gurdjieff insisted on the law of three. Every phenomenon requires affirming, denying, and reconciling forces. Your desire affirms, your restraint denies. The reconciling force is the man you become through the tension. Without all three, nothing transforms. You are building leverage in an invisible economy. The currency is attention, the interest compounds in clarity. Every time you redirect that energy toward your work, you deposit into an account the world cannot audit, but the returns appear in rooms that shape your future. Dating dynamics collapse without masculine polarity. The man who chases signals that he has already lost. The man who waits with purpose signals abundance. Not because he plays games, because he genuinely has something worth protecting. This is the quiet advantage no algorithm can replicate. The man who masters his own energy writes his own terms. He does not negotiate from depletion. He does not arrive at the table already spent. The storm inside him stays harnessed, ready, sharp. Kierkegaard spoke of the leap into authentic selfhood. You stop living for the crowd's approval. You face the abyss of your own freedom and choose. Sexual restraint is one form of that leap, a refusal to numb the existential weight with easy pleasure. The modern man medicates in 100 ways, scrolling, streaming, swiping, climaxing, anything to avoid the silence where real questions live. But the man who sits in that silence, he meets the part of himself that knows the mission. You are not withholding from becoming a monk. You are striving to become the version of you that builds. The version that holds eye contact in negotiations. The version that walks into rooms and shifts the gravity. Masculine sovereignty is felt before it is explained. Gurdjieff warned that knowledge without being is empty. You can read every text on discipline and still collapse. Because the work is not intellectual, it is embodied. You train the body to obey when the mind commands. And the first command is, not now, not for this. The forge burns hottest when you add constraint. The metal does not strengthen through random heat. It strengthens through controlled pressure application. You are both the blacksmith and the blade. Every act of restraint is a strike of the hammer. Women watch how you handle small temptations, because small temptations reveal the structure underneath. The man who cannot delay a text message, cannot delay his need for validation, his fear of loss. The man who can wait holds the frame without gripping. This is not a tactic you deploy on Friday night. It is the cumulative weight of 1,000 private choices. The mornings you woke early, the nights you said no, the hours you spent building instead of scrolling. Selection happens in the mirror long before the date. Jung said the shadow contains both gold and poison. The drives you repress do not vanish, they ferment. If you deny them without consciousness, they twist into neurosis. But if you acknowledge them and choose restraint, you transmute the poison into creative fuel. Gurdjieff's students often failed because they mistook effort for transformation. They forced themselves into rigidity, then snapped. Restraint is not brittle. It bends under pressure, but does not break. You feel the pull, You honor the energy, you redirect. The river does not stop, you change its course. The attention economy profits from your compulsion. Every click is a vote for distraction over depth. Every release is a signal that you prefer comfort to creation. But the man who interrupts the pattern, he reclaims hours the crowd has already surrendered. You are not better than anyone for choosing restraint. You are simply playing a longer game with different rules. The rules you live by determine the life you build. Most men inherit rules without examination. The sovereign man writes his own code and quietly enforces it. Dating reveals this asymmetry in brutal clarity. The woman who texts you at midnight is not confused. She is measuring how quickly you abandon your own frame. Your response window tells her everything about your calendar. The man who answers instantly has already lost the negotiation. This is not about withholding affection or playing cold. It is about responding from fullness, not from need. The man who needs her attention will trade his sovereignty for it. The man who wants but does not need, he meets her as an equal, not as a supplicant. Gurdjieff called this self-remembering, the practice of staying present to your own presence. Most men live in their heads, lost in fantasy or regret. The body moves, the mind drifts, the energy scatters. But the man who remembers himself holds the thread. Sexual energy is the thread that most men drop first, because culture insists it is trivial, mechanical, and separate from spirit. But the ancients knew it as the root of creative power. The Taoists mapped it, the yogis channeled it. The modern man spills it into screens and wonders why he feels hollow. You wake tired, not because you worked too hard. You wake tired because you spent the voltage on nothing. The body knows the difference between expenditure and investment. Orgasm without purpose is expenditure. Restraint with intention is the compound interest of willpower. The throne is not granted. It is built from small refusals. No to the scroll. No to the easy dopamine. No to the impulse. Each refusal is a brick in the foundation. And one day you stand on something solid while the men around you still build on sand. Women do not need you to be perfect. They need you to be congruent, present, and unbent by pressure. The test is not malicious, it is diagnostic. She pushes to see if the frame holds. The man who flinches loses her respect in real time. This is the quiet advantage that cannot be bought. No course, no hack, no shortcut delivers self-command. You earn it in the privacy of 10,000 choices. The nights you said no when your body screamed yes. The mornings you rose when comfort whispered stay. Gurdjieff insisted that man is asleep until he chooses to wake. The choice is not dramatic, it is incremental. You wake 1 degree at a time through conscious friction, and sexual restraint is one friction among many, but it is the one most men refuse to apply. You are not withholding from punishing yourself. You are striving to honor the work that demands everything, the art, the mission, the relationship that requires your full presence. You cannot give what you have already spent. The mirror does not negotiate, it reflects the truth. Jung warned that the unlived life poisons from within. The man who surrenders to every impulse lives nothing deeply. He tastes 1,000 things and digests none, but the man who chooses restraint, he tastes less and savors everything. The storm will return, the hunger will rise again. This is not a battle you win once and retire. It is the daily practice of the man who refuses mechanicalness. You feel the pull, you breathe through it, you choose. And in that choice, you become the architect of your days. Gurdjieff taught that real change requires a shock, something that interrupts the machinery of habit. For most men, that shock arrives as a crisis, loss, failure, humiliation that forces them awake, but the disciplined few create the shock themselves through restraint. You do not need permission to begin this practice. You do not need to announce it or defend it. You simply start saying no in the privacy of your own life. And over weeks, months, years, you notice the man in the mirror has changed. His gaze is steady. His words land differently. He does not fidget when silence fills the room. He does not reach for his phone when boredom arrives. Women notice this shift without naming it. Masculine sovereignty is not performed, it radiates. The attention economy will not applaud your choice. It profits from your distraction, your compulsion, your release. Every algorithm is designed to collapse your restraint. But the man who opts out of that economy, he reclaims the hours the crowd has already sold. You are not avoiding life's pleasures. You are choosing which pleasures deserve your full energy. The small reliefs drain you for the battles that matter, and life's bigger battles require a man who arrives whole. The Forge does not care about your excuses, it reveals what you chose. Gurdjieff's final teaching was simple and impossible. Remember yourself, in every moment, without exception. Most men forget within seconds of drying, but the man who practices this, remembering, he learns to hold the thread even when the storm arrives. Sexual restraint is not the goal, it is one thread among many. But it is the thread most men drop first, because it requires choosing tension over relief, and relief is what the sleeping man craves above all. But you are no longer asleep.